Able to see me?
Facebook's come live.
Okay, right. Should I start?
It's saying your bandwidth is low. It's just.
श्रीमद् भागवतम ग्रंथराज की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Text 59. Chapter titled Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Nadyo asya nirabhidyanta tabhyo lohitam abhritam nadyas tatah samabhavan udaram nirabhidyata. Nadyosya nirabhidyanta tabhyo lohitam abhritam nadyastata samabhavan udaram nirabhidyata. Nadyosya nirabhidyanta tabhyo lohitam abhritam nadyastata samabhavan udaram nirabhidyata. Nadyosya nirabhidyanta tabhyo lohitam abhritam nadyastata samabhavan udaram nirabhidyata. So we look at the word for word translations. Nadyo, the veins. Asya, of the universal form. Nirabhidyanta, became manifested. Tabhyaha, from them. Lohitam, blood. Abhritam, was produced. Nadyaha, the rivers. Tataha, from that. Samabhavan, appeared. Udaram, the stomach. Nirabhidyata, became manifested. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The veins of the universal body became manifested, and thereafter the red corpuscles or blood. In their wake came the rivers, the deities presiding over the veins, and then appeared an abdomen. Purport. Blood veins are compared to rivers. When the veins were manifested in the universal form, the rivers in various planets were also manifested. The controlling deity of the rivers is also the controlling deity of the nervous system. In Ayurvedic treatment, those who are suffering from the disease of nervous instability are recommended to take a bath by dipping into a flowing river. Om Ajnanathmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Mahavishnu Goswami Niti Namne. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivash Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So this entire chapter, as we have seen, is a description of the material nature, how it manifests, and how the different gross material elements and the subtle elements are manifested, and how these are all part of what we understand or we are made to understand is the actual body of the Virat Purush. So in the beginning of the chapter we heard, just to recap, that there is this universal egg that manifests, which is universe basically in the shape of an egg. And this is basically the manifestation of the material energy, and it is covered by Pradhan, which is the unmanifested state of Prakriti. And within this egg is the universal form of Hari, or what we understand as Virat Purush. And it is said that this Virat Purush is spread right across the universe, right from the top planetary system to the lower planetary system. In fact, it was mentioned that the soles of the feet of this Virat Purush is the Patal planet. The head of this Virat Purush is Satyalok, or Brahma's planet. And his belly is the middle planetary system, which is Earth. So why so much description given about the universal form or universal egg? Well, some people, Prabhupada writes that people who cannot worship the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord can take another step and try to think about Krishna in his Virat Roop and try to worship him. Just like Krishna showed his universal form to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11. So similarly, the workings of the material nature is described, and it might be appropriate for certain people to focus their minds on this form of the Lord, which is also an incarnation of Krishna itself. So we've been reading this chapter from the beginning of how from this universal egg, slowly different parts of the body of this Virat Purush manifested. So we saw how the mouth manifested, how the nostrils manifested, how the eyes manifested, how the ears manifested, how the skin manifested, the hair, semen, anus, hands, legs. So all of this manifested one by one, and all of these elements also has a presiding deity to control that element, that material element, obviously under the direction of Krishna. And there is millions of such universes right across that is emanating. So this universe that we are in is considered to be, interestingly, one of the smallest universes. And because it's a small universe, the Brahma in this universe has only got 4 heads. And we know that story of how Brahma was called in by Krishna, and Brahma thought that he's the only creator. And when he actually goes in to Krishna's place, he sees that it's a gathering of different Brahmas, and there are different headed Brahmas from different other planetary systems, universes. So it's very interesting. So this verse talks about the manifestation of Krishna's Nadi. Nadi, it has 2 meanings. One, it could also mean the pulse, and it also means the veins. In fact, they are pretty much similar. So Nadi in actually Hindi, or the actual word here, is the veins that carry blood into our body. So this particular verse talks about the Nadi being manifested in Virat Purush. And that Nadi is Nadivasya Nirabhidyanta. So it manifested. And the Nadi basically Tabhyo Lohitam Abritam. Tabhyo means the Nadi actually manifested, and the vein is carrying the blood.  Lohitam is the blood. Abritam was produced. And from this nadi came nadi. So in Hindi, it's a very similar word. Nadi is the vein, and nadi is a river. So from the nadi of the Virat Purush manifested the rivers. And it is said that the rivers that we see or that we can perceive in this material world is just like the blood veins. Interestingly, I was finding out a little bit about rivers and deltas, and I found that there are a lot of research that's being done by various like BBC and Geographic, and the delta that forms around the mouth of the ocean where all the rivers are actually meeting, they branch out into different forms, and from a big drone shot, it appears just like very complicated veins. So the rivers, even from our material perspective, are essentially spread out just like veins, especially as they enter the ocean, at the mouth of the ocean. And it is considered one of the most fertile areas on earth, the delta zones. So here it is said that the nadi is actually manifested, and from the nadi is the nadi that manifests, which is the most fertile part of the earth. Any crops can easily grow there. And from because the river is manifested, there is obviously a presiding deity, and thereafter manifests his abdomen, the Virat Purusha's abdomen. So it is very interesting that the veins of Krishna carrying blood actually give rise to the rivers. And we understand from, there are different ways of understanding the veins or nadi of the Virat Purush. On one hand, we have got the description in Isha Upanishad, I think it's mantra 8, where it is said that he is Ashnaviram, which is he doesn't have any veins because he's omniscient. He's Shuddham and he's Apapa Viddham. So he's prophylactic and antiseptic, and he is without veins. That's one description of the Supreme Lord. Of course, his veins are not like the veins in the material world that we understand. So that was one aspect. On the other hand, if we see in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, in the 9th chapter of Canto 1, where Lord Bhishma Dev is glorifying the Lord just when he is about to leave his body. And he is thinking about Krishna in his form, whereby he was covered with blood when he was fighting with Arjun. So we all remember that wonderful pastime of how Krishna deliberately, to save his devotee and to protect his devotee's vow, he broke his own vow. Krishna was not, as we are aware, he had promised that he would not pick up any weapon. And Bhishma Dev also, being a Mahajan, as we are aware, one of the 12 Mahajans, he, due to various circumstances as we understand in Mahabharata, had also taken a vow that tomorrow either I kill Arjun or I will make Krishna pick up a weapon. It's my vow. And we know how the battle was so fierce, in which he was shooting arrows and Arjun couldn't manage. And obviously Arjun and Krishna both had got some arrows hit on themselves. And when Arjun was in a slightly helpless position, Krishna just couldn't take it anymore. So he actually jumped out of the chariot, and we see that wonderful poster, which is very common and very popular, of Krishna actually picking up the wheel of the chariot in his hand and rushing towards Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma, when he saw that scene, he just left his weapons and he started praying to the Lord. He said, "This is the form of the Lord I've been wanting to see," because Bhishma was in the Virya Ras, the valor, and he wanted to reciprocate or have the Lord's reciprocation in that same rasa. So when he saw Krishna with all his arrows and this blood coming out of his body, his transcendental body, with his chariot in hand, that was the goal of his existence. That was the fulfillment, success of his life. And he started praying. So on that deathbed, or just before leaving his body, Bhishma is remembering. There's a nice verse that says, Mama nishita sharair vibidyamana tvachi vilasat kavache astu krishnatma. So he says that all the decorations were intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. And that was enjoyed by Krishna. He knows. So it wasn't a thing where he is fighting with the Lord. But it apparently appears like fighting, but actually the two personalities, the Supreme Lord and his devotee, they are having a wonderful exchange in that rasa. And then he says, let my mind, kavache, stu Krishna Atma. So let me concentrate my mind on that form of the Supreme Lord. So on one hand, we know he doesn't have veins as a Supreme Person or material veins. On the other hand, we also see that during this Mahabharat war, he did exhibit externally some signs of wound and injury whereby blood was coming out, purely to satisfy or to fulfill the vow of Bhishma Dev. So it's very wonderful that the Nadi that we discuss in Virat Purush has so many other connotations and so many ways that we can understand that, with apparent contradictions, which is actually not contradictory, but with apparent contradictions based on different pastimes that the Lord undertakes. So it's very interesting in the purport. Prabhupada writes that the Nadi, because it gives rise to Nadi, the Nadi has got some very special qualities. And people who have come from a village background and who are used to taking bath in a river will recollect that there is a special, what should I say, perception or some special way that people used to perceive taking a bath early in the morning, especially in a flowing river. That was the actual system. Now, of course, it's changed and there's no rivers anyway, or very few, and we are not even inclined to take a dip in that river unless we come to Prabhupada's books. So it's interesting that the rivers, why people actually took or prefer to take a bath in a flowing river. Rivers is yes, but more so in a flowing river. And it's very interesting, obviously from this verse we understand that the river actually is the Nadi of the Virat Purush. So obviously it's got some special potency, some special spiritual merit. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, Prabhupada writes that bathing in a river, it cures the nervous instability of people who have developed that disease for some reason. So we can understand that a river, if you think about it, flows through different places. Like it flows through the sand, it flows through the forests, it sometimes goes underground, for a certain distance perhaps, like a tunnel almost, and then it manifests out. So while going through so many forests and tunnels and sand, it picks up the inherent minerals that the earth possesses. And we read in a verse previous in this same chapter, where I think it was 2056, where Krishna, Kapil Dev is saying that the hair of Virat Purush manifested as different herbs, very medicinal herbs. So when the river goes through or passes through such forests, trees, it is actually the hair of the Virat Purush. So imagine touching the hair of the Virat Purush also picks up the spiritual potency. So when the river actually goes through all these places and is flowing constantly, it is completely surcharged with the potency of the Lord, with all these wonderful minerals and the wealth that the earth possesses in her. And it imbibes all these important medicinal and minerals, which is good for the human body. So in the morning, when somebody is actually taking a bath in such a flowing water, guess what happens? As Prabhupada says, the nervous system remains very stable, very good, very alert. Second, it regulates the blood pressure as per Ayurveda. Third, it ensures that the bile secretion is normal, is good. And another interesting part is it cools the body. I mean, somebody might say in New Zealand you don't need cooling the body, but generally in a tropical climate, a hot tropical climate, being getting some kind of relief from the heat is very important. So this is also helpful in cooling the body. Another interesting part I thought I should share is when we take a bath, it is recommended, again as per Ayurveda, that the bathing should start from the feet up. So first, wet the feet, then the hips, then you move on, and the last thing is the head. Whereas when we take a shower, you open the shower, and usually, if somebody is not aware, you just stand below the shower. The first thing that gets wet is the head, and then the water flows down, so it's top down. But as per Ayurveda, it should be bottom up. So when somebody takes a bath in the river, automatically you've got to step in the river. Your feet gets wet first, and then as you keep going inside, then naturally, automatically, the water actually comes up slowly, up and until it reaches your head. So it's a very scientific process, and the medicinal qualities of the river is what imparts those medicinal aspects to keeping our body healthy, so that we can use it in the service of Krishna. So one of the things that came up in another previous verse was the quality of water, specifically related to Virat Purush, which said that it drives away the heat. This is in text 43. So we can see that the water does have that quality, but when we talk about a river, which is obviously water, but it's got so many other qualities, and we can relate it directly to that river being the Nadi of Virat Purush. So when we get an opportunity to take a dip in a flowing river, whether here or India or some other place, let's take that opportunity. And remember that it's actually the Nadi, the blood veins of the Virat Purush. So why so much descriptions about the Virat Purush? Because we might appreciate a river, but we might not appreciate the river being a part and parcel of Virat Purush. And this is something that is, I think, a great takeaway from this verse, that we might be seeing rivers all the time, but we don't see it with this perspective. So seeing everything as Krishna's part and parcel, or seeing everything in relation to Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, we had this description in chapter 8, where Krishna says there are 10 places where we can see him. Like Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, Prabhasmi Shri Suryaho, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Paurusham Nishu. Like the taste of water, the ability in man, the sun and moon. So these are different ways that when we interact with the environment around us, we can see everything in relationship to Krishna. But at the end of the day, what is important is, with all this information that we've got, constantly keeping in touch with Prabhupada's books, constantly discussing these subjects matter is very important. Otherwise, it becomes a one-off. We hear and then we forget. And then we are back to what we were used to doing. So reading these descriptions and constantly keeping ahead with it, it's a nice series. And now that we are able to see different descriptions of the Virat Purush every day at the same time, it's one good way to keep in touch with this chapter, which is usually not very easy to understand with our own speculative and conditioned thinking. But it is one good way when we hear from devotees, we can connect them nicely, and we can try to train our minds to see everything in relationship to Krishna. And I just thought I'll move on, because the end of this verse, after the Nadi and the Nadi, Krishna manifests, or the Virat Purush manifests his abdomen. And when the word Udar came up, I couldn't but think about the Dama Udar, which is the form of Lord Krishna, where he was bound across his belly by Mother Yashoda. And we have Kartik month coming up very soon. So Udar is Dama Udar, the binding of Krishna with the ropes of Mother Yashoda's love. So that's another way. When the word Udar comes up in relation to Krishna, of course, we think about the Damodar Leela that he had performed. And that once the abdomen manifests, in the next verse, it is described how the digestive aspects are manifested. And then at the end of this chapter is very important. Of course, whoever does it will discuss in detail. But I just thought I'll bring it up right now. Is in 72, which is the last verse of this chapter. Kapil Dev says that basically through three things we need to engage in concentrated devotional service. I like the word Prabhupada uses, concentrated. And this is a good aspect to meditate on, specifically when we do have time to focus on a lot more aspects of our devotional service and how we can intensify them within the confines of our home. I don't think there should be any problems with that. So he gives three things that are important to intensify or to concentrate our devotional service. And what are the three things? This acronym, it's easy to remember. DDA. DDA. So D is devotion. The second D is detachment. And the third one is A. A is advancement in spiritual knowledge. So as we understand, getting the knowledge and engaging in devotional service go hand in hand. So devotion, by engaging in Krishna's service as much as we can and intensifying that service, is important. Simultaneously have spiritual knowledge, increase our spiritual knowledge and our indulgence in spiritual knowledge. This is one thing that we can never say that I'm overindulging. There's never atyahara in reading scriptures. So devotion and knowledge will automatically lead to detachment. So DDA, and that will help us focus on concentrated devotional service. So all that we read and all that we understand about these aspects of Virat Purush need to actually be translated into our devotional service, need to actually be remembered, or which actually help us remember the various aspects of Krishna's creation, specifically this material world. And as we've discussed earlier, why do we need to know this? Material world is nothing but a big prison house. We are all in this prison house. We are all prisoners. And we need to know how it functions so that we are able to take the right steps to get out of it. And this is the key to get out of this material prison house. And that is concentrated devotional service as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to read and relish Srimad Bhagavatam, understand the messages and discuss, even though it's an online forum, but discuss various subject matters and have a better understanding of how we can understand more and apply these teachings in trying to see everything in relationship to Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All right, any comments or questions? Okay, if you all have not gone, I just thought I'll add just one more thing, is all these aspects are very important and to understand in the right context. And that's because in, again, chapter 8, text 9, I think, yes, there's this nice verse, Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anoranishyam Sham Anusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. So this Achintya, Sarvatra Dhataram Achintya Rupam. So this Rupam, this form of the Lord is Achintya. Achintya is inconceivable. And in the purport, Prabhupada writes about this word inconceivable. We cannot conceive. So what is the understanding there? It says that Achintya is something that is beyond this material world. That which argument, logic, philosophical speculation cannot touch. So something that we can perceive but we cannot explain. perceive some, from the information provided to us, but we cannot really explain, or we cannot communicate, or we cannot tangibly put across to somebody. It has to be accepted as it is. So we accept it or we don't. So this is achintya. It is beyond our material senses. So best way to understand the Lord's form is to accept it as it is. Okay, we have Mataji asking, reminded to hear constantly about Krishna, or our Krishna conscious becomes a one-off. There is no atyahara in reading Shastra. This is an opportunity. Yes, Mataji, thank you very much. Because yes, we do try to safeguard ourselves with that verse from Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita, atyahara prayashascha. So we do atyahara and prayash in material activities, but this time of this particular period where we are in lockdown is a perfect opportunity to engage in atyahara and prayash with scriptures and discussion of topics about Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
What was that devotion, detachment, and the last one was?
Oh, advancement in spiritual knowledge. Yes, DDA.
Advancement in... Oh, thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Okay. I think that's about it. Do leave your comments, and if I do check them, I will check them. I'll try and respond to the best of my ability. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.